What you just saw is the after, but a few days ago, this 110 square feet room looked like it was in line for an episode of How Clean Is Your House?
One sweep in the corner.
Oh my god, oh no!
That could be your current situation, and for most people, transforming that into your dream room and desk setup can feel like trying to fit an elephant inside a shoebox, especially when you're tight on space and money. Whether you're a student trying to make your dorm feel less like a storage unit, or you work from home and just want a space that doesn't scream chaos, creating a cozy and organized setup isn't as easy as Pinterest makes it look. But in this video, I'll help you by showing you how exactly I turned this messy room into a functional and cozy space. Now, since I don't have much coin to spare, every piece I bought had to be either free, secondhand, or ridiculously affordable. I'll assume you guys know the usual suspects: Facebook Marketplace, IKEA, Amazon, Temu, the list goes on and on. My budget for the entire build was around 1,600 Australian dollars, which is about $1,000 if you're in the States. Now, luckily, I already had a few decor pieces, a bunch of lights, my chair, accessories, and my old monitor. But I understand not everyone starts with that, so I'll make sure to list affordable alternatives as we go and also link everything in the description box. With a few things to start with, I went online on a mini treasure hunt to source the items I didn't have. After about a month, I'd gathered almost everything except one major piece: the desk. Now, standing desks can get really expensive, so my plan was to just buy the frame, then reuse an old IKEA Calby countertop I had lying in the garage. With that in mind, I ordered a frame from Amazon for 159 Australian dollars, and here's where things got interesting. A day after I placed my order, Blacklyte reached out and offered to send me their Atlas Lite standing desk. Talk about timing. After receiving that news, I cancelled my order and decided to put that money towards Bauhaus picture frames I found on Temu. A few days later, I finally had all the pieces I needed to complete my setup, and the next obvious thing was to begin the layout. Now, I'd be lying if I said I just walked into this room and magically knew where everything would go. Before I even started the build, the layout was pretty much set in stone. No, these walls are made of drywall, so scratch that. There's a window to the right, a closet on the opposite side, and two walls, although one's slightly smaller because of the door. That's about as far as the architecture helped. Everything else, that was on me, so here's how I envisioned it. That big empty wall opposite the door would be the perfect backdrop for the bed, then I'd have 3 picture frames above it to add some visual interest. Next to the bed, a small nightstand on one side for the essentials, then on the little space behind the bed, staggered shelving. On the smaller wall, I'd place the desk right next to a filing cabinet, then on the right side of that wall, I'd have slat panels with a Bauhaus picture frame. In the midsection of the wall, I'd have another set of staggered shelving with a pegboard to the right. On the tiny wall to the left, another Bauhaus print with a tiny shelf underneath it. Don't mind the tapping, I ran out of tape. With the layout locked in, it was time to start the build, and that's when I hit my first challenge. One I definitely didn't see coming. As I started clearing everything out, I realized the bed I'd picked up for free on Facebook Marketplace had a few surprises. It was missing the middle support, I couldn't remember where I put the screws, and the bed slats were nowhere to be seen. So I'd basically scored a pile of rubbish. Now, after thinking of buying the missing parts, I came to the realization buying the slats would cost me around 70 bucks, another 20 bucks or so for the screws, and getting the center support, that would be an extreme sport. So instead of going through all of that, I cut my losses, cleared up the room, and picked up a new bed frame from one of our local stores. For under $200, I found one that not only looked solid, but matched the walnut and black theme I was going for perfectly. It took me about 45 minutes to set everything up, and once I was done, I chucked on the mattress, the beddings. Next in line were the curtains. I went with these rust-colored ones, and after screwing in all the rail supports, the only thing left was placing the railed curtains into the hook. From there, I quickly fixed the shelving to the left of the bed. Next in line was the desk area, and this is where the fun really began. Remember how I mentioned earlier Blacklyte reached out after I'd bought a frame off Amazon? Yeah, that turned out to be one of the best timing moments ever. They sent me the Atlas Lite standing desk, and from the moment I carried it in, I knew it was going to change the vibe of the room. Unboxing it was so satisfying, and adding a pair of gloves to help with the unboxing process was quite thoughtful. Just like following the well laid out instructions on this massive paper would be in your case and my case, in order to avoid spending 6 hours just building the desk. Anyway, setup hurdles aside, everything was neatly packed, no excessive foam or messy cables, just clean, intentional design. Inside the boxes, you get the steel frame attached to the desktop, control panel, all the tools you need for assembly, and the clear instructions I mentioned earlier. Alright, since the video is about the setup transformation, I'll go a little bit more in depth about the desk next week. So make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out. It's also a little bit too late, so I'll hang up the tools. See you tomorrow. On day 2, it was time to bring in the accessories and peripherals, and I started with the centerpiece, the monitor. For this setup, I went with a 49-inch Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. Now, I know what you're thinking. Brian, that's massive, and yeah, it is. But hear me out. This isn't just a monitor, it's like having two 27-inch monitors fused together into one beautiful command center. Perfect for productivity, editing, or even casual gaming when you just want to escape into your own world. But I get it, for some people it might be an overkill. So here's a good budget alternative, the LG 34WQ650. It's ideal for students or anyone working from home, and all those basic computer tasks, it does them effortlessly. Just like the Neo G9, it gives you enough screen real estate to have multiple windows, maybe research on one side, your assignment on the other, an Excel sheet somewhere. You can do it all. Now, the monitor by itself looks great, but the fit it comes with takes up way too much desk space. And with a setup like this, every inch counts. So I opted to mount it on a monitor arm, and the one I went with at first was the Desky Heavy Duty Monitor Arm. According to their website, designed for 49-inch screens up to 20 kilograms, but upon mounting the Neo G9, it couldn't handle the weight. Alright, as you can see, I've run into a bit of a problem. The Desky Heavy Duty Monitor Arm can't hold the weight of the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. So what I've ended up doing is order the Ergotron HX monitor arm, and I'm gonna pick it up and sort this out. So I finally got the proper monitor arm. I'm gonna unbox it and set it up. The Ergotron HX is a beast if you want a monitor arm for a super ultra wide monitor. Like everything in the video, I'll link it in the description box. With the monitor mounted, the desk was finally starting to look alive, and that was a perfect time to add more accessories and peripherals. First to come in was the dock, and the one I went with is the Fusion Pro Plus from iFunky. This thing is basically the command center for the entire setup. Again, I won't go into so much detail about it. Everything will be covered in an upcoming desk setup video not too long from now. Next in line was the keyboard and mouse. For this setup, I went with the low-free floor Lite mechanical keyboard and mouse combo, and I like how it brings back the nostalgia from the late 90s and early 2000s. First off, both the keyboard and mouse are rechargeable, which saves you from the endless battery hunt, which can sometimes get really annoying. Typing on the keyboard is really satisfying, and here's a sample sound test. As for the mouse, it's not left behind either. It's got adjustable DPI levels, which means you can fine-tune your cursor speeds depending on what you're doing. For instance, slower for precise edits and faster for productivity and browsing tasks. And yes, it transitions smoothly even on wider screens like that of the Neo G9. It also comes with back and forward buttons, which might not sound like a big deal until you go back to a normal mouse and realize how much you missed it. Now, powering everything is my M1 MacBook Pro, and even after 5 years, this machine still holds its own. It's more than capable when it comes to daily computing tasks like 4K editing, browsing the web. Gaming though, let's just say the M1 wasn't built for that life. In saying that, for lightweight titles and emulators, the M1 does just fine. Gaming aside, I then added this wool felt desk mat I picked up from Amazon. It adds a bit of warmth and texture against the black desk while also protecting it from scratches. The next day, before jumping into the rest of the accessories, there was one more piece I needed to add for even more visual interest. The desk shelf. I actually built this one myself using a few timber offcuts I had lying around. After sanding it down, I stained it, then sealed it off for durability, and honestly, if you'd ask me, it's just as good as monitor risers that cost 10 times the amount it cost me to build it. When it comes to functionality, besides elevating the overall look, a desk shelf provides some form of cable management and adds a clean second tier of organization that gives you extra space to tuck away your keyboard or notebook when you're not using them. On either side of the desk, I added accessories that are bound to get a reaction every single time. This levitating bulb and plant. If you're wondering how they stay afloat, it's all thanks to magnetic levitation. There's a magnet inside the base and another inside the planter, and together they create a repelling magnetic field that makes the plant float mid-air. It infinitely spins, giving the space some sort of ethereal calm, almost meditative, and you can never just have enough of it. As for the levitating bulb, the filament glows with this warm soft light that perfectly complements the cozy theme I'll be going for. Together, the shelf, the floating plant, and the levitating bulb give the entire desk setup this balance of creativity and calm and a bit of wow factor. Wow factors aside, I also added this filing cabinet for extra storage, and I like how the walnut complements the black on the desk. Speaking of which, that's the reason why I added these walnut slat panels. On day 3, I started off by adding the Kanto YU2 desktop speakers. Now, while they don't have the deepest bass, the clarity and separation between the frequencies is spot on, especially for the average consumer. Speaking of the average consumer, the Quantis monitor Lite and the BenQ webcam would be ideal for them given what they give in terms of performance per dollar. And the same could be said for this Blue Yeti microphone. As far as the accessories go, that was everything. It was now time to do some cable management and add a good chair. For cable management, the Atlas Lite standing desk really came through. It includes a medium-sized cable management tray which made hiding all the cables such a breeze. I used a few cable clips and cable ties to keep everything neat and out of sight. Now, since I don't have too many peripherals on this setup, the cable management process was surprisingly quick. In less than 30 minutes, the entire underside of the desk looked clean. Honestly, there's something oddly satisfying about seeing zero cables in a desk setup. With cable management done, it was time to bring one of the most underrated but really important part of a desk setup, and that is the chair. Let's be honest, a setup isn't complete without a good, comfortable chair. In my case, I brought this replica Eames chair from the dead, and boy, doesn't it scream class. Now, I get it's a bit scuffed, but all the adjustable and ergonomic features are still as good as new. Recline tension, swivel, you name it, they work flawlessly. So whether you are editing, relaxing, or spinning around pretending to think about life, it's got you covered. Add the premium cushioning under the leather and lumbar support and you'll be comfortably sitting for hours on end without realizing how much time has passed. Now, I'll admit aesthetics shouldn't be the front runner when choosing a chair, but this one ticks all the functionality boxes and the aesthetic boxes. With the chair in place, the setup was starting to finally feel complete, but there were still a few things missing. The wall in front of the desk needed some life, so I mounted 2 floating shelves, then a pegboard to the right to store a few accessories as well as add visual interest to the wall. On the tiny wall to the left of the desk, I added another shelf, and after that, the wall looked way better. The only things remaining were lighting, decor, and plants. I kicked off day 4 with decor and began by mounting the Bauhaus picture frames on the wall adjacent to the bed, on the slat panel next to the door, and finally on the tiny wall to the left of the desk. Clean lines, bold design, and just the right amount of contrast to balance out the warm tones in the space, thanks to the earth tones. On the lower shelf, I placed a mushroom lamp, then paired it with a vinyl clock and a few small plants to add a bit of life. In the far left corner, I mounted this donut lamp, which has become somewhat of a signature piece across many setups on the internet. I then added a few more plants on the top shelf, after which I placed the famous IKEA Bird of Paradise in the corner, and when I stepped back, I had to take a deep breath and bring it all in. The plants and the soft glow from the lamps add subtle warmth and visual interest that draw you to the wall without overpowering the rest of the room. To bring a touch of depth and dimension, I mounted LED park lights above each of the Bauhaus picture frames. A small detail, but one that really adds visual interest and draws your eyes upwards. I then placed this lamp from IKEA on the bedside table. Then, to tie everything together on the desk, I installed a Govee LED strip behind it, giving the wall a gentle ambient glow that not only adds visual interest but also creates separation between the desk and the wall. I then sprinkled a few more plants across the shelves and the desk to break up the lines and soften the modern look, and at that point, the space just clicked. Everything from the textures, the lighting, and the colors came together to form a room that feels both cozy and inspiring. It's the kind of space that makes you sit down, get things done, and never leave, because once you're done, the bed is right there for you to rest on. Just like that, the transformation was complete. From a cluttered, messy storage room to a cozy, functional room that the average user would love. Every element from the desk to the lighting to the tiny details like the levitating plant came together to create a space that's not only productive but peaceful. Most of what you see here came together piece by piece, reused, repurposed, or built from scratch, and I think that's what makes it special. You don't need a massive budget to create a space that inspires you. You just need a bit of vision, a weekend or two, and the patience to let it evolve. If there's one big takeaway from this transformation, it's that design isn't just about how something looks, it's about how it also makes you feel. And speaking of how something makes you feel, my garage at the moment is making my stomach rumble. So it's up next on the makeover chopping board. As always, I hope you enjoyed and found this video helpful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and click the notification bell to get notified whenever I post a new video. In the meantime, if you're looking to transform your living room and hallway, check out this video. Until then, people of the internet, I'm signing out. See you over here.